I apologize in advance if this review ends up being too long because I just came back from the theater and gosh, I don't even know where to start. There's so much to unpack here. What is up, guys and gals? Welcome to Tausify. My name is Tausif, and first things first, I would like to thank you guys for your feedback on my Dune Part 1 review. The Dune Part 1 review is doing really well on my channel, and I appreciate all the comments that you guys have left. Actually, I appreciate your comments more than you think, because for a very long time, I've been creating content, and all this time I felt like I was just talking to myself. You know, aside from occasional comments and occasional likes, most of the times I just felt like I was creating content and just straight up uploading to the void. You know, it was more about appeasing the YouTube algorithm so that the YouTube starts suggesting my videos in order to generate more views. But it feels really, really good as a human being that there's actually people on the other side who is like reacting and replying to what I'm saying here. So I really appreciate all the engagement that my Dune review has generated, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments and knowing your thoughts on my review on Dune Part 2. Now, actually getting into the actual movie, it's just honestly, I've been just sitting here for like a couple of hours, and I still don't know how to start this review because there's just so much that I want to say all at once. But it's just okay. First of all, let's just say that I wasn't there when the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Big Lord of the Rings fan here. So when the Lord of the Rings trilogy conquered the box office, and when it was hitting the theaters back in the early 2000s, I wasn't able to. I never watched Lord of the Rings in the theaters because when it came out, I was like 4, right? But watching this movie, I think that this is what it must have felt like to watch Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Two Towers and Return of the Kings in theaters, because it's just such a grand scale, and the way it all felt just so epic. As a movie lover, as a lover of fantasy, as a sci-fi fan, as a Muslim, as a human being, this movie hit me in so many layers that it's gonna take a while for me to express myself after what I've just experienced today, right? One regret, though, I wasn't able to watch it in IMAX because I couldn't find a theater in Bangladesh that has the IMAX screening. Yeah, that sucks. But I still enjoyed it a lot. And now, first of all, this video is called Muslim Reviews Dune Part 2. So let's talk about the Muslim aspect. This, when I talked about the first part, the Islamic influences in the first movie, it was still pretty much in the background. Most of the movie, the part 1, it was more about the royal houses and the politics and the Atreides and the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens attacked the Atreides, and now the Atreides are trying to survive, and a lot of that was more in focus, and the religious stuff regarding Paul was in the background. But in this part, the religion became the forefront. Like, it was just, it felt like, it's like Islamic fantasy. I just don't know. Like, I'm watching this and I'm like, man, everything about this, Denis Villeneuve must have studied Islam a lot before making this movie, or maybe Frank Herbert, because if he's adapting Frank Herbert, and this is why I feel like I deeply regret not finishing the book before watching part 2. Like, I read half of the book. I covered all the stuff that part 1 covers, like where part 1 ends. I read the book all the way until like exactly where part 1 kind of ends, right? And now this is part 2, so this is the second half of the movie. So I don't know if the second half of the movie goes as hard into religion as it did in the movie, because it is exactly, guys, I'm not even kidding, it is exactly what we like, the way we like what we believe about the Mahdi. And you won't even believe there are so many people who have claimed to be the Mahdi in the past, and even currently, there's some guy in Pakistan who claimed to be the Mahdi a couple of days, like last year, bro. I'm not even kidding. It's just so like, and also like the way they treat him, and then even though Paul Atreides is telling us that, I'm not the Mahdi, I'm not this, I'm not, but then Stilgar is like, this is like a small spoiler. It's not even like that big of a deal, but the way they treat him, even when he's saying that I'm not the Mahdi, but they're still like, oh, the Mahdi's too humble. Of course, the Mahdi's not gonna say he's the Mahdi. Even that is in the scriptures, like in our religion. Like when the Mahdi arrives, everybody will call him the Mahdi, but he's gonna be like, I'm just a guy. I'm not some Mahdi. I'm just a. That is even that is accurate to the so like, yeah, they must have done some extensive research. So yeah, basically what we believe in our religion is that there are like prophecies about the Mahdi, prophecies of, you guessed it, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And his prophecies regarding Mahdi is like, he's gonna arrive, and some say that he's already here. So there are stuff like that as well. He's gonna protect the Muslims against the attacks and the invasions of the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is gonna come first, and they're gonna oppress the people, and he's gonna protect us from the Antichrist. And there are prophecies, like specific prophecies about what he's gonna do and this and that. And then Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, goes on to prophesizing the second coming of Jesus, peace be upon him, and the prophecies afterwards all have to do with the second coming of Jesus, peace be upon him, where he's gonna arrive, the specific location of his second coming. So basically, the Mahdi is supposed to protect the Muslims against the Antichrist, and then Jesus basically starts basically the jihad. The jihad of the against the Antichrist, Dajjal, we call him in Arabic. The main jihad is going to be carried out by Jesus, peace be upon him. A Mahdi in that case is more like a defensive jihad, whereas Jesus, peace be upon him, is going to carry out the offensive, the main jihad against Dajjal, the Antichrist. So that's what we believe regarding Mahdi and Jesus. And also the word jihad was left out in the movie. It was in the books, but then they were so too afraid to add it in the movie, and so they yeeted the word out, replaced the word with holy war. Maybe I'll talk about the actual Mahdi and the actual Jesus in a separate video. But I like to be clear though, this is not an Islamic channel. This is a channel where I make content based on what I, Tausif, find interesting, hence the name Tausify. So mainly focusing on entertainment, movies and gaming and stuff like that. But if, however, the movie itself is delving deep into religious territory, then I won't hesitate. So yeah, that's how I feel. So, and also I'm kind of surprised that not many Muslims are talking about this. Like, this is like, after watching the movie, the Islamic imagery and the way Paul is depicted, it's odd that not more Muslims are talking about this. So, and yeah, it's all done really well, to the point that it's believable. The way Timothée Chalamet carries himself in this movie is so believable the entire time, and the way Stilgar treats him is such a stereotypical blind follower. It's so funny and hilarious at times, right? But at the same time, it reflects real life, because there are actual people who do follow their religious leaders without much justification. You know what I mean? And I heard from a couple of people that the Fremen in the books all just blindly follow Paul, but in this movie they showed us that some Fremen follow Paul, whilst there are others who are kind of secular types, or kind of atheist types that don't believe. They're skeptical about is he really the Mahdi? He's just a fraud and stuff like that. And some people even figure it out, saying that it's all planted by the Bene Gesserit. So that angle is also like, on the one hand, it doesn't make much sense, because if this is a desert planet where everybody is like living in this nomadic kind of lifestyle, it wouldn't make sense that there were like people who are like open-minded the way the movie showed it. You know what I mean? This is why I feel like the book Fremen, they all just blindly followed Paul, but in the movie it's like a lot more nuanced. Like some people are like on the fence, whereas other people are like blind followers, and then there are some that are skeptical and stuff like that. And it makes more like, it makes the conversations much more engaging. So yeah, now moving on to the actual pros and cons of the movie. The acting and the characters in this movie, I felt so much more warmth from the characters in this movie compared to part 1. Compared to part 2, the characters in part 1 felt a lot more, kind of felt wooden and robotic. I don't know how to explain it, but in the first part, everybody's just was just so smug. They weren't as expressive. Compared to part 2, the characters are a lot more colorful, and a lot more, even the Harkonnens showed like they were despicable. Like the Harkonnens are disgusting, right? And they actually didn't shy away from showing you how disgusting they are. I hear that in the books, the Harkonnens are a lot more disgusting. Like the Baron is actually like, is this a book spoiler? Like the Baron is far more disgusting in the books than in this movie. In the books, the original Baron actually is attracted to his own nephew, Fade Rotha, in the books. So based on what I've heard, they kind of filtered a lot of those things for the sake of the movie, I think. And since the movie is also PG-13, and yeah, but the acting and the characters were a lot more fleshed out and done a lot better in this part 2, compared to part 1. So the acting, the characters, done better. Number 1. Number 2, the amount of action. The action was ramped up in this part, because in the first part people were saying it's slow, not a lot is happening. Here, so much action scenes. Another thing is that I didn't like the knife fights in the first movie, in part 1. In part 2, even the knife battles, I'm not a fan of knife battles. I think knives suck. Okay, why would you use knives if there are swords? You know what I mean? So yeah, first of all, not a big fan of knife fights, but even the knife fights in part 2 were much more entertaining. Okay, so the action was head and shoulders above the first part, all the way down to the knife fights, the mega ultra explosions. Overall, awesome action in this movie. If you are just a regular moviegoer, and if you're going to the movie to enjoy some action, you're gonna enjoy it for sure. And then moving on to the visual department, the CGI, the practical effects, like visually, this movie, pretty much my review of the part 1, everything, including the visuals, better. Like this movie looks so much more stylized. They actually made Paul look a bit more dirty when he's in the desert. He did give off the desert feeling. Like in the part 1, everything is so clean. Here, it's a bit more grittier. It's a bit more, it's a bit more sandy. Anakin would definitely hate this movie. I liked the aesthetics of the Harkonnens. It was downright scary. I almost felt like watching a horror movie, especially the there's a fight in the Coliseum type fight with Fade Rotha. It's in the trailer. And that knife fight and some of the imagery there is just straight up will give you the creeps. The Dune worms were done awesome, and overall CGI and the visuals in general looked flawless in my opinion. And also the music, I think this is Hans Zimmer's best score yet. And I'm not a big Hans Zimmer guy. Usually he does Christopher Nolan's music, and most of the times Christopher Nolan's movies are so loud that you can't even hear them talking. That's most of my experience with Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan. But this time, Hans Zimmer just knocked it out of the park. This is one of the best music score in a movie that I've ever heard. It's just the best. Okay, like I just can't think of any that I felt was better. Now moving on to the plot. Now, the plot of this movie was much more faster paced. A lot happened in this movie compared to the previous one. Basically, Paul and his mother, Jessica, you will see them going out against, the Harkonnens. So out for revenge, right? So this is kind of like a revenge plot. Basically, Paul and his mother get accepted by the Fremen, and then they start to learn the Fremen ways, and then lots of stuff happen, and then basically they prepare themselves to take down the Harkonnens, and all hell just breaks loose at the end. It's just really, and the movie ends in a cliffhanger, and you're almost guaranteed that they're gonna adapt Dune Messiah afterwards, because the way the movie kind of ended, there's like a lot of questions are left unanswered. So yeah, I'm totally knee deep into Dune. I can't wait to finish the book, and then I'll probably read Dune Messiah at least. After being so involved, how can I not? Right? If I had to give this a rating, I'd give this a 9.5 out of 10. So yeah, that was my review. If you enjoyed this review, obviously a lot of you have, and I'm patiently waiting to read your thoughts in the comment sections. So be sure to share what you thought about this movie, and if you're a Muslim, what do you think about this movie, of course, because a lot of the stuff straight up from Islam. And if you're a non-Muslim, how are you viewing this movie? What are your thoughts about this? Can't wait to read them. And yeah, with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And of course, push the bell notification so that you get notified every single time I upload a new video. And with that being said, until next time, long live the fighters, and stay Tausify.